miss your blue skies. I miss your clear blue skies and drinking water streams. I miss your mountains. I miss your sunrise and your watercolor scenes. Ooh, Alaska, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
For 6 years, Jay Hammond and his crew have journeyed across Alaska. Down the trail, they met over 68 unique Alaskans, doing unusual, uplifting, often courageous things in a land they trade for no other. As a pilot, commercial fisherman, writer, homesteader, and former governor, Jay's life mirrors the character and spirit of those Alaskans who have carved out a life to their own design. Alascom is proud to have sponsored the Jay Hammond's Alaska series, an enduring tribute to the grandeur of Alaska's land and the warmth of its people. Join us for a celebration of the wonderful people who call Alaska home.
Alaska, I'm coming home.
How about that?
Alaska. I miss your blue skies. I miss your clear blue skies and drinking water streams. I miss your mountains. I miss your sunrise and your watercolor scenes. Ooh, Alaska, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
Joann and Monty found both their home and destiny in Alaska, where they have performed their music for over 16 years. Like many northern artists, they express their love of Alaska in their work, inspired by our state's magnificent natural beauty.
You know, you get out on a trail or just get out walking and you forget everything. Sometimes we handle business on a walk. Sometimes we just let everything go.
A long time ago when I first started writing songs about Alaska, people said, "Oh, how long are you going to be able to do this?" And I keep saying, as long as there's eagles flying, you know.
Their artistic expression is conveyed through the instruments they play and the poetry of their songs. Both were born singing, it seems, and were each performing long before they had met.
Music actually brought me here. We had a family band, my father, my older brother, and my sister and myself, and we got booked into a club in Fairbanks, and drove up the Alcan, and I knew from the minute that I drove across the state line that I was home.
I was actually raised in Washington, D.C., but I was living in California back in '75, and my sister and I were singing with a rock and roll band that signed a 2-month contract to come to Fairbanks. And so after the 2-month contract, my sister fell in love with the dishwasher, and I fell in love with Alaska, so we stayed. On the new fallen snow, the trail runs in the night. Auntie and I got involved personally, and it was within the first couple months that we started writing.
How about something like Winter's Touch is everywhere in sight?
We do try to keep regular writing sessions, and if we sit down, you know, we could start totally from scratch and whisper the secrets of the night.
I guess what usually happens is one or the other of us will have an idea, just an idea, you know, wouldn't this be neat? My songs sometimes hit me done, and my job is just to get them out. But more often we bounce, you know, the whole idea off. Somebody will come up with a melody. I don't think we've ever actually written a piece that was just Joann's or just mine. You know, when you write a song, basically what you're trying to do is tell a story, a complete story, in 3 minutes.
Moon is shining on the dew, falling snow. The trail runs out before us in the night. The trees are wrapped in winter's gown, Christmas
glistening in white, they lean and touch as though they are the only ones who know this winterland delight. I absolutely love the lifestyle. I like being my own boss. Well, I like having my own boss.
That's right. Don't you forget it.
Yeah.
Face to face, heart to heart, on the alley time.
We started performing together, got wonderful responses to our original songs, so little by little over the years, it's just progressed such that we do only our original music.
Joann and Monty have produced 6 tapes and just recently released their first CD. Although known for their Alaskan repertoire, these songbirds can soar over the entire musical landscape, harmonically head-chopping from rock and roll to country to jazz.
We've reached a point where we've been writing together for so long that we always run out of time before we run out of songs. We hope to place some of our songs with, some of those national artists. In our business, that's about the only way we're going to really make a killing. I always tell people you can't make a living in our business, but you might make a killing.
Monty and I feel very confident that we have many songs that are ready right now to be recorded by another artist, and we feel we're ready for...
Ask a lot of Alaskans, they'll tell you. They believe it.
And we feel like we're ready for a record deal if that were to be the case, too.
I grow tired of the problems, tired of the conflict and pain, grew tired of trying to solve things myself, tired of trying in vain. So I turned to one who is wiser, one who would tell me the truth. He said, somewhere beyond these eyes of mine, beyond the sound of my voice, there's something in you and something in me. He just said, love is the choice, teach only love, teach only love, teach only love, teach only love. It's a brand new one, so I really messed it up. But I just wrote it just this week.
There does seem to be a very special place with people about the songs about Alaska.
Here it is 4 a.m. and we're on the road going south.
The sun's already shining on the eagles flying all about. The power of the inlet tide comes rushing in as we go rushing by. Breakfast is a coffee cup as miles and miles of mountains fill our eyes.
Chorus?
No.
Summer turns to winter, back to summer as we leave the past behind. Smiling at each other, saying nothing covers every line. It's the great land symphony. Great land.
Obviously, you're not rolling in wealth. You indicated you don't own a home.
No.
You're
No.
ready. And yet, you people, out from the following you've had and the product you're producing would be deemed, I think, very, very successful.
Yeah. You know, I've often felt like if we had done this same thing in San Francisco, if we had worked as hard as we had here, say in San Francisco or in one of those major centers, we probably would be a lot more rewarded financially.
What a terrible price to pay.
That's right. That's right. You know, and it's not worth it to me. I want to live. I'm an Alaskan. You know, a couple of times actually when we moved to Los Angeles, you know, we said, no, we're moving. We got to go down there and be in the middle of the music business. Well, I can't leave it, Jay. You know, it's way too deep in here, and I don't even pretend anymore.
Where we live, we got a house so full of love. Where we live, I just can't get enough. Where we live, sunshine streaming through the window brings another day full of all I need. And where we live, I don't ever want to leave. La da da.
My recollections of the 5th grade are surely nothing like this.
Yeehaw! All right. Well done.
My lessons were far less interesting than these. And I don't remember sitting on the floor or using a newspaper as a textbook. My teacher certainly wasn't one of my best friends. All that might have been different if my teacher had been someone like Mary Palmer.
Okay. You're going to go from point A to point B. Let's say you're going to go from here up to here.
Mary Palmer provides a remarkable blend of challenge, innovation, and affection. To inspire her class of students at McNeil Canyon Elementary School, located just outside of Homer.
I need every M&M I can get my hands on.
In my traditional educational background, the 3 R's were always stressed: reading, writing, and arithmetic. But Mary adds a 4th R she feels is even more important: relevancy.
Well, my approach nowadays is quite a bit different than it was 10 years ago when I first came out of college. I was taught a certain way how to teach, and at the time I thought that would work, and it did for me then. But since then I've kind of let go of what I thought I needed to control and handed that over to the kids and put them more in charge of their own education and their own decisions, and away we go. And that's why they like it, because it's relevant, and it's because it's important to them. It's not me running the show, it's me being the adult and they're in charge. Let's just spend some money today. What I got out of today's newspapers are advertisements. So, here's your grocery store, and here's your Pacific Linens. Is that gorgeous or what?
For their math lesson, each student is throwing a mythical party, and each has an imaginary $75 to spend. They decide what they can afford.
Are we invited?
I don't know.
And who they can afford to invite.
Let's hope so, Natalie.
Yeah.
I teach thematically, which means I don't separate out every single subject area throughout the day with a different book and a different workbook and a different sheet. If I'm teaching Denali, and that's one of the units we're on right now, then we donate the majority of the day to that. And everything that we do has something to do with or can circle back to the concept of what the mountain is.
When Mary designed the teaching plan focused on Denali, she found a problem. There were no children's books about the mountain. So Mary tackled that challenge and is now writing one herself.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking this unit that I teach and putting it into like a curriculum that teachers could use or parents could use or children can use on their own on how to learn about Denali and other mountains in their own area.
Okay, so one of the games we're going to play today has to do with this.
No, Autumn carries you, you carry me, I carry Abby, Abby carries Alexis.
You're pretending that each member of the group is either gear or a person. If you're a carrier, you can carry a person once up to the next thing. You could piggyback them up, and then when you come down, you can't continue to be the carrier. You have to be carried. Good. Okay, she's there. Good.
Mary's outdoor classroom is where these students learn teamwork, cooperation, and self-worth. Here, they receive a lesson in how to trust each other and themselves.
A great sadness for me in my profession is that I have this little sea of faces every fall, and maybe 2 out of 29 really believe in themselves. And how has that happened by the time they're 10? And so my main concern right off the bat is not their handwriting and not their times tables and not their nouns and verbs. We work on who they are and how successful they've been and what makes them happy and what makes them tick. And once I've kind of figured that out on them, then that's what I'm gearing toward.
When Mary Palmer teaches in the snowfield behind the school, magically it becomes a base camp at the foot of Denali.
One thing we've been doing is pretending we're just through with the day's climb, and you can make up any story you want about how your day went. You might have had a close call, you might have saved somebody. Alexis, you wouldn't believe how many people Alexis and Natalie saved. They were the sheroes of the day.
Mary teaches that it's impossible to impose limits on one's imagination.
You know what I'd like us to try, you guys? Andy and I tried this at lunch, and it worked. I would like you to figure out where you think the sun is right now, and really concentrate on the sun coming out and the clouds moving out of our way without being goofy about it. Let's really try it.
Games like these teach Mary's kids an important lesson.
Anything you want to do, you can. Anything is possible for you. And that's absolutely true.
You guys need to look like. That was perfect. Woo! That's what you get out of this. You get a kid who has never even been at the top of a ladder before, and you get them up here, and then they think, oh, well, that was a piece of cake. And they watch other kids do that, and they're willing to. She never would have guessed that she could be able to climb that an hour ago, and now look at her. You look gorgeous. That's okay. You're not shaking, the wires are.
Children need to test themselves. Especially kids that are getting up in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they need to take risks, and they will take risks whether you want them to or not.
Okay, big one. Okay. You think you're going to make it?
Not really. The tree wobbles way back.
Yeah.
Taking the kids through something like the ropes course is the perfect arena for them to take extreme risks in a controlled environment, and that helps take care of that need to take those risks without them choosing other things that are socially unacceptable and dangerous.
Yes! Woo! Would you like to go up?
Up here?
Looking good, Jay. And if you never know where your edges are, then you won't know what you can do. And if you know where an edge is today, then you know you can at least get that far, and tomorrow you're going to be more grown up and more mature and be able to handle it, and your edge is going to keep moving. How's it feel up there?
Good.
As long as you keep trying things. If you never try, then the edge will be the most scariest part, and it'll be right up against you. Woo! Yes! Yes! Ha ha! Woo! Way to go! Ha ha!
Once I was safely back on the ground, I visited Mary's home overlooking Ketchimak Bay. What's your background? Tell me a little bit about where you came from, your origins, and so forth.
Well, I grew up on a cattle ranch in Northern California on the Oregon border, and I had to work real hard as a child, and I had a lot of responsibility as a child, so I learned how to handle myself. Anyway, it just never occurred to me as a kid that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I wasn't told that, and so I never did believe that.
I see. What drew you up here? Did you...
As a fifth grader, this is interesting since I'm teaching fifth grade this year, I just knew in fifth grade that I needed to get up here. I belonged up here. Homesteading was still allowed. I had come from a long line of homesteaders on both sides of my family, and I was going to do it too.
Go!
One, two, three.
Although Mary never homesteaded, she acquired enough outdoor skills to win the title of Talkeetna's Wilderness Woman of the Year twice, defeating many women 20 years her junior.
And I just wanted to see if at age 41 if I still had it. And of course I do. I mean, it's not like Americans have this thing about turning the big 4-0 that you're just going to fall completely apart. Well, when I turned 30, 3 or 4 things broke on me that week, but turning 40, it didn't faze me a bit.
Although she used to run a base camp at the foot of Denali, Mary has never climbed the mountain. So this year, she's making her first descent.
It's something I've been thinking about for quite a while, and being in Talkeetna and being part of that community of the summer where there's so much effort put toward climbing the mountain, it's been on my list. And finally, financially and time-wise, this ended up being the summer to be able to do it.
Even a fifth grader knows climbing Denali is expensive. So Mary's class is helping raise money, one cookie at a time.
Hi, how are you? Okay, what's what?
Mary! You the culprit behind
No,
this.
ma'am.
Cody was your
Cody's
idea.
Cody's idea.
Cody, thank you so much. May I shake your hand? Thanks for your support.
Now, one more thing I'm sure I didn't do in the fifth grade. I never climbed a mountain.
We'll set up camp there, we'll rest, and then tonight, when everything cools down, we'll carry to the next place.
Mary's ascent is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. And who better to share it with than some of her best friends?
My main idea for them was to come up here and just soak all this up, and sure enough they have. People coming up the hill, they've welcomed people heading out, they've said bon voyage. They've just marched right up to groups and introduced themselves, even if the groups didn't speak English. They've offered them food.
I missed your home. Bye.
Although the kids won't be going up the mountain with Mary, their visit to base camp is an experience few fifth graders have had, and one they'll never forget.
Oh, my red stick.
You don't remember what was on page 53 in the math book. They take experiences like this and they'll think about it forever and talk about it forever. Bye, sweetie. Thank you all for coming.
I can't help but feel that when these kids face their own mountains in the future, they'll be equal to the task, thanks to a fifth grade teacher named Mary Palmer. This beautiful area around Homer has long attracted people who love to live close to the land. Janice Schofield and her husband Ed are two such people. And Janice appreciates not only the visual gifts from nature's garden, but also savors the taste of the plants she finds along the way. Hi, Janice. Well, you've been out grazing, huh?
Been out grazing.
What you got here? You bet. I asked them what brought them here and what they love about the country they found.
We decided to take some time off and just spend the summer in Alaska. And we went up around the interior, and I remember it was around the 1st of June, it snowed and the mosquitoes were out. So that drove us south. And we just had a feeling to go to the end of the road.
What are some of the things you like most about your life up here?
It seems if you were somewhere else, there seems to be an energy where everybody seems to act the same. Where here, people are different around you, and you can feel that it's okay to be a little different if you want to be.
A book came out recently called Women Who Run with the Wolves, and it's about the wild, they call it the wild woman archetype, and it's about the part of our psyche that's, again, real connected to nature and to the seasons and to the changes of the moon and to the herbs, and it's free to express itself, again, without doing things that infringe on other people's rights, but that it can be expressive and it can be creative and it could walk barefoot, and it's not so concerned about appearances and meeting other people's standards. And the way I've seen it described as sloth woman or sloth man, it describes the primitive part of our brain. And I think Alaska is slothier than most of the states. The people, you know, they fish more, they hike more, they're, I think, again, just more connected with the plants as a, I guess you could say, as an overall personality of the place that we live in. And I'd like to start now just with an activity of tasting. How would you label this flavor?
Janice seems firmly connected to that slothier side of herself, and through her edible herbs and plants class, she brings others in contact as well.
Sweet. This is stevia. It's an herb often used as a sweetener, and many of the herbs that are classified, like licorice is classified as a sweet. I always hang out in the woods and bring things home and ask my parents, you know, like, what's this? And they'd say, I don't know, but don't put it in your mouth. So now I'm doing everything I was trained not to do, but now I know what I'm doing, too.
And she shares what she knows in her 2 published books. Both are full of color photos and illustrations by fellow Homerite and artist Toby Tyler. Janice then took me to meet some other friends, who soon became my fellow students, as we learned about edible plant life on the marine menu. This gave us the chance to cross beautiful Kachemak Bay. We headed for one of Janice's favorite places to graze, Yukon Island, where lies some of nature's most incredible intertidal grand gardens. In my long years as a fisherman in Bristol Bay, I'm well aware of the bounty found beneath deeper waters. But here, Janice shared her exceptional knowledge and showed us seafood found closer to shore I didn't know about, along with a few surprises.
This is sea skirt. Oh, here we go. Lunch. Okay. This
Tossed salad.
Tossed salad. What does it look like? Lettuce.
Looks
Lettuce.
like lettuce.
And this is sea lettuce. And the sea vegetables have a mineral content very close to that in human blood. So it's a real nourishing food, and I find the more you eat the sea vegetables, the more your body craves them. The more I work with things, the more I realize how everything's interconnected, and that how we treat ourselves reflects on how we treat the earth. And the more we become attuned to the plants and their roles in our lives, I think the more healthy we become. Okay, this plant with a very distinct bluish-gray cast is oyster leaf. More and more of the diseases in the American society have been things that are degenerative, you know, chronic. And I think those are areas where the herbs definitely complement the healing process. This one is called beach greens. It's Honkenia paploides. It was used by a lot of the circumpolar explorers. And when they'd get off the ships, they'd often be very deficient in vitamin C. So this was one of the plants that they call scurvy grass because it's extremely high in the vitamin C content.
Now that Janice has whetted my appetite with the hors d'oeuvres we found on Yukon Island, we went back to her home to fix a meal largely from plants, flowers, and seaweed harvested from our day's ventures. And it was delicious.
This is all the vegetables that we chopped, mixed with rice and feta cheese and the phyllo dough.
As my camera crew can attest, I've almost been able to keep up with them as I've eaten my way across most of Alaska. But this meal was a unique and tantalizing treat for even their overtaxed taste buds. We found we weren't the only company who came for lunch. Have they found your garden of herbs yet?
Well, they don't bother the herbs, but one of the cats found a way to sneak under our fence.
You probably know you're a vegetarian. Probably taking a permanent residence here. The surprise visit of the young moose seemed in keeping with the lifestyle that Janice and Ed had chosen, one in balance and harmony with both flora and fauna.
Honor the plants, we start to honor ourselves, and we honor what we put in our body and how we treat our body. I think in the process we become healthier and the earth becomes healthier. Live life without plants as part of your life is like living life without all the colors of the rainbow.
Antarctica, 1928, a forbidding, unknown, and enticing landscape for a group of adventurers who were part of Admiral Richard Byrd's first expedition to the South Pole. Here, these young men explored uncharted territory, became the first Americans to drive dogs in the Antarctic. Professor and geologist Lawrence Gould led these young men on a 3-month, 1,500-mile journey by dog team to explore lands upon which no one had ever set foot. They were all men following a dream. And now, over 60 years later, one of those college boys, Norman Vaughn, is in training to follow his own footsteps back into history.
Any pulse?
94.
Okay, that's good.
While Norman may have a few years on me chronologically, his inner self-image is but a stripling compared to mine. Confined in me is an energetic young fellow of perhaps 30 or 40. Inside of Norman, there seems to caper about a kid of but 13 or 14, thirsting for new adventure. Now he's in rigorous training for a symbolic and historic return to the Antarctic, where he and his team will climb a 10,000-foot mountain named in his honor. Norman's traveled the world with his sled dogs for most of his long and exciting life. He competed in the 1932 Winter Olympics. He used dog teams to rescue downed airmen in World War II and took 209 dogs to the Battle of the Bulge. And he's raced the Iditarod 13 times, the latest in 1991 at a mere 85.
I love dogs, and I got started by reading a book about Eskimos and Indians of the North with Edward Goodale, who was 5 miles away from me.
How old were you then?
12 years old, he was 13. And then we took our father's dog, each of us. One had a collie and the other father had a German Shepherd. We harnessed them up. And I remember I was sitting on a flexible flyer sled, and we harnessed them, and I said, mush. We didn't, oh no, Goodale said mush. And the two dogs turned around, came right back wherever they were at that moment, came back and wanted to be patted. It went on for all the time we were at school and beginning of college. Old Boston transcript was tossed through the door, and I grabbed it. Banner headlines, Bird to the South Pole.
A man will not be satisfied until he knows the globe upon which he lives.
Well, the very next morning, I was at Admiral Byrd's house.
Be darned.
I was there right in Boston. I went in there instead of going to college class.
Well, invited or?
No, invited. I rapped at the door, and I wanted just a 5-minute interview with the commander, Commander Byrd.
Yeah.
And this buxom maid who was, when she talked with me, she opened the door, and I was standing 2-3 steps down on the front steps. And she stood at the top, and when I told her I did not have an appointment, she put her arms akimbo, and she almost scared me and by saying, nobody gets by me unless they have an appointment, and she really meant it.
I'll be darned. So how did you overcome that?
I had to find a way.
The back door, maybe, huh?
Well, it wasn't that, because she'd have been there. But I turned around and walked down to the sidewalk, and when I hit the sidewalk, I had a new idea. I'd go down to the newspaper to find the man who wrote that article. His name was W.A. McDonald, and I can remember it so clearly that he said, looked at me like that maid did. Why should I have anything to do with you? Yeah. You're just in college. I'm busy writing my newspaper. But when I told him I had a dog team, he was really excited about that in interest.
Was that your collie and German Shepherd and one-eyed dog?
That's right. I called up my roommates and said, Goodale, you gotta come. And then we called up Crockett, and we all gambled, the three of us, and we won because he took all three of us. Then Bird named us the Three Musketeers. And we were the low life on the expedition. Everybody else was senior to us. Most vividly, I remember the first night I got there. I was being delighted that I was there. We were the first Americans to touch foot on the Antarctic continent.
You know, after 18 months of what some would feel to be deep isolation and conducive to, quote, cabin fever, you volunteered to stay another year. What prompted that? And were you the only one to so volunteer, or were others eagerly wishing to spend more time?
No, others weren't eagerly wishing to stay, but I did because I was excited to be there all the time that I was there.
Even after 18 months, it hadn't worn off? Huh?
No, it had not. It hasn't worn off yet.
But it hadn't worn off yet.
I want to go back.
Norman's journey to the Antarctic will mark the end of an era. It's an historic and symbolic trip. Norman was the first American to drive dogs in the Antarctic. He may well be the last.
Hello, boy.
Now Norman will lead the expedition that includes his wife, Carolyn, who has helped him every step of the way.
You all right?
Just a minute.
I will wait.
Norman's Iditarod slogan is, quote, the oldest and the slowest, unquote. But that certainly didn't apply in the courtship of his wife, Carolyn, who first came to Alaska as Norman's dog handler, and shortly thereafter, their romance really warmed up on the icy Iditarod Trail. Married 6 years ago at the Roadhouse in Trapper Creek, they now call this snug cabin home.
This to Bo Cuts.
Okay.
Dear Bo.
Norman and Carolyn tirelessly planned for the expedition and keep Norman running between fundraising, training, and shaking hands.
Above the Earth's surface.
Well, I understand that you help keep Norman organized, and is that one of your key roles in keeping him out of mischief?
Yes. Norman doesn't know the meaning of time, so he likes to talk a lot, and he doesn't have a clue of what time is, and so I'm behind him getting him organized, and you know, he's been planning this thing for 65 years, and it wasn't until I came along he's finally gotten it done. I said I'm going to write a book about how to raise an 80-year-old.
Oh boy, that'll be a great seller. That'll be a bestseller.
Norman and Carolyn's unusual wedding outside in winter brought together two people divided by several decades in age, but united by zest for adventure and deep affection.
We are gathered together before these witnesses to join this man and this woman in matrimony. I, Norman Vaughn.
I, Norman Vaughn.
Take thee, Carolyn Mugie.
Take thee, Carolyn Mugie.
For better or worse.
For better or worse.
For richer or poorer.
For richer or poor. We knew that there was some type of a bond between us, and it was this, both of us having this love of adventure, and adventure being in our soul, and we both understood what that meant. So we've had an immediate bond there, and it was just, we felt like we were in a time warp because of the age difference, and certainly I'd never dreamed that I'd be marrying somebody who was 80 years old, oh my God. But, you know, that just sort of all went away because our interest transcended any of the age, and Norman certainly doesn't act like he's 80 years old, so.
Most young ladies that marry old men do so for love and money. One thing you can't, no one would ever say to Carolyn, she married me for my money.
So there had to be something else. Huh? Now that you've been married several years, what do you find best about Norman?
Something I've been thinking about recently as we are really escalating in this time period for going to the Antarctic is that I get tired and we work long days. We're working 96 hours a day and I'm getting tired. Norman is always going. He has just a bottomless pit of energy and he never ever complains. I mean, he never complains, and no matter how tired he is, if there's a task to be done, boy, he jumps right in and he's ready to do it.
Let it go all the way back.
This time, it's not just another explorer's front door Norman has to get past, but doors leading into, through, and around the bureaucracy, as well as those leading to means for financing this epic adventure.
I want to tell you all the wonderful things you've done for me. Your company has just been terrific all the time. Thanks again, very, very much. I'm very happy to give this to you for BP.
Well, thank you, Colonel, and we wish you all the best in this very great adventure you're just about to embark on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, now, you know, after the remarkably venturesome life you've led and are leading, tell me, what do you think is the best thing about your life now?
Now? Wow. All right, the best thing about my life, if I can continue, is to set an example for anybody, young and old, to have dreams and try to put them forward and get them accomplished, and particularly to the businesses of America to forget the digit 65. I think that's terrible that a man reaches 65 and automatically he's told he's too old to do this or do that.
Good. A little bit more.
That's good. Toward me a little bit more. Well, Jay, let's get up. I'll show you what we do. You put your parka on in the cold so that your arms are really out. You reach in and start breakfast by bringing out a wooden spoon. So you won't tear your lips apart. Next comes the oatmeal that you had all night long in a fireless cooker. And now this cover ought to be easy to turn off because it's warm. One of the worst things of a thermos bottle, you get something nice inside, it can be hot, but you can't ever get this off because moisture has got in there and it's squeezed it on. So you take that off on the inside. You don't have to do that, use that cup again, so you can put it aside with the top.
That's your prepared oatmeal.
Prepared, but only just a minute before you went to bed. You put your oatmeal. It has milk in it, sugar, and Sundays you get raisins. And a wooden spoon in order not to hurt your lips. And just take it out.
Metal spoon wouldn't work too well, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Then you just eat it.
It's breakfast in bed.
Hey, I'll tell you, this is, compared to the old days of roughing it, this is sedentary, Norman.
And you get nice breakfast before you get out. Now, wouldn't you like a taste of that?
Aren't you afraid of getting spoiled and getting soft?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I won't have much time to be soft, so
I'm not worrying about it.
I'll get soft.
No
That's
raisins,
good.
not Sunday brunch.
Oh, wow.
Excellent, Norman.
I cooked overnight like that.
That's so hot that you're really warm when you finish. Now you feel like it's more wholesome to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Prior to that moment, it's really chilly.
Yeah, you betcha. How do you get them up on the trail after this sort of treatment?
It's hard to get me going.
You've certainly made it evident that 65 is a mental barrier, not a physical one in the minds of most folks.
And if I can tell people to get a hobby, an active hobby, not one that's knitting and sitting in a chair, but an active hobby, whether it's bird counting, bird watching, or actually doing a garden if that's what he likes. Anything to keep him busy and he can live younger, longer. Stop?
No, keep going. Can't let you off that easy. I won't be able to sleep tonight. Go. Good. Breathing?
Oh, yeah. Try it.
Good, good.
You've got a zest for life that should everybody at least up until the age of 50 ought to have, and you've kept it and expanded on it. How do you hang on to it?
Well, I feel very much like I look at the world through these eyes of mine, just like I did when I was a lot younger. And I think if you think that you're looking through old eyes at yourself, you begin to think you've gone and you've done your life. Well, I don't think I've done my life. I think I'm doing my life, and I want to keep on doing. So I look at everything as though my eyes were back at age 40, not 87.
Is this a store? Or
Oh, yes, we have this for you, and I want you to see everything that we have in here. And we have everything to sell to get us to the Antarctic. That's how we're going to get there, selling mugs and everything, books. Then be mounted in a poster that costs $35. My son and daughter-in-law.
Norman, you've crossed a lot of new, unexplored horizons, had a lot of firsts in your life. So many younger folk feel that, you know, somebody else has already done it, the horizons are compressed. You know, what's to look forward to?
Oh, there's lots to look forward to, no matter who you are. I think I could talk with them and show and point out things that they might like to do that they haven't done yet, and that's just the way it is with me. If somebody comes along with something new, I want to know all about that new thing so I can go and enjoy it too. I haven't taken up bungee jumping though.
That's next.
That's next.
This is the way an individual would actually get out of a crevasse. What you want to do is make it a really dynamic motion. As you stand up, slide the ascender up.
Okay.
Okay.
Try it.
If you get your feet back underneath you, and now stand up, and then push at the same time, right there.
There you
Okay, now relax. Okay, so you don't want to be holding yourself on your arms for very long.
Norman hasn't even seen this. This is a map that was just sent to us that was down on the very first bird expedition.
Oh, man.
That was from Little America. Here's Little America. And this is the route all the way until they intersected here. They said, past geological party at 12:05. And that was the party that Norman was in.
I want to keep going until the end. And people have said, aren't you afraid to go down to the Antarctic? No, I'm not afraid. If I should die down there, that'd be all right. I will have accomplished a lot of living. I might tell you somebody else's epitaph that I think would apply, that I would like to have on my stone. December 19, 1905, when I was born, then a space, and then whatever is the appropriate date when I died, and that space, I would like to say, have said, he lived. The only death you die is the death you die today by not living.
Here it is 4 a.m. and we're on the road going south. The sun's already shining on the eagles flying all about. The power of the inlet tide comes rushing in as we go rushing by. Breakfast is a coffee cup as miles and miles of mountains fill our eyes. Then as we start to climb, sky fills up with clouds that roll in on the morning breeze. And summer turns to winter, back to summer, as we leave the past behind. Smiling at each other, saying nothing covers every line. It's the great land symphony. Great land. Ooh. Right about 12 Mile Hill, the misty fog is like an old friend. He bows down to greet us, then disappears round the bend. The gulls above the harbor cry good morning. They say hurry, climb aboard. Soon to see the magic and the mystery, the keen-eye fjords. There in the alpenglow, the town lies neatly nestled in between. The arms of Resurrection Bay and Mount Marathon embrace her like a queen. Suddenly an orca leaps before us, and it takes our breath away. The glacier cracks like pistol shots, then rumbles and rolls us on the way. It's the great land symphony. Great land. Ooh. Ooh. The symphony plays every day from Kennecott to Glacier Bay. She's